Coming up on the Empowered Woman podcast.
I have no idea about running a business, but I know in medicine we need specialists for other organs.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm a general surgeon. I don't know anything about the heart, but I will go to a cardiologist if I need advice. Same anywhere, actually.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's going to save you time. And there
Mhm.
are other people who have that skill set. You don't need to have them be the master of everything.
Welcome to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on visibility strategies for women entrepreneurs. If you want to get empowered to be seen, stand out on social media, stages, TV, and more to make an impact with your voice and business, you're in the right place. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Marcia Spurk, and I'm your host, professional singer and visibility strategist. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. Hi, Ineke. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I am so excited to have you share your fascinating story, your background, and how you are creating an impact out there in the world, especially on women. So why don't
Uh-huh.
you kick us off? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay. So I have a convoluted story, but this makes the best story, life
Yeah,
journeys.
totally.
I'm a surgeon by training, a human surgeon, because I've moved into the animal kingdom now, and people
Ooh.
always, yes, people always go, you human surgeon or animal surgeon? So I always have to define that.
Mm-hmm.
But I am a human surgeon, and I'm a general surgeon with specialty in breast cancer, breast reconstruction, and trauma general, all that.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for about over 10 years as a consultant. And I in New Zealand, train in Australia, Europe, the UK. And 4 years ago, I launched a company because my dog did not get the skincare that she needed. So we make skincare for dogs.
I love it.
And this is the life that I've sort of moved on into now.
Mhm.
But in amongst all of that, about 12 months ago, I had the real privilege of getting a book on the shelf
Mhm.
and getting on a book on the shelf with HarperCollins, no less.
Amazing.
And I must say it was incredibly humbling for me because I never realized the impact that it would have on people from all walks of life. I never really started out writing the book as a book.
Mhm.
But when I got to the end, I thought, okay, well, hopefully this will inspire young people wanting to do medicine. But I've had messages from all sorts of people all over the world saying, thank you for writing the book. There've been people who have had contact with the medical system or families, etc. And of course, it's life. A lot of us yeah, unfortunately, we need medical care over the course of our lifetime.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my gosh, so many layers, so many things
yes,
to
yes,
unpack
yes, yeah.
there.
Where do we go?
Where do I go? And that's exactly it. Where do I want to pick here? I guess I would love to hear more about the background into starting into medicine, because I know that's a long journey. And then opening up your business. Obviously, we want to talk about the book as well, but let's backtrack just a little bit. Yeah, tell us more about that wild journey.
So, I mean, the reason I got into medicine, you know, I grew up in the islands.
Mhm.
I grew up in Samoa, which is an island in the South Pacific.
Mhm.
And when you're top student, and actually when you're top student anywhere in the world, probably people expect you to either do medicine or
Right.
be a lawyer or something like that, those classic vocational
Yep.
journeys. So I did well at school. I got a scholarship to study medicine and and then I became a doctor.
Mhm.
Um I became a surgeon because I loved the impact, the immediacy of impact that we have, in somebody's life.
Mhm.
As a surgeon, you meet somebody because they're very, very unwell,
Right.
and you have the possibility of saving life
Yeah.
in those situations. So, actually, I loved it. I talk in the book. I write about when I first realized I wanted to be a general surgeon, and it was a young woman who was choppered into our hospital because she had pelvic bleeding. And the surgeon down there, and it happens a lot in these smaller towns, smaller hospitals where you don't have the facilities, you don't have the ICU staff, you don't have the specialist surgical equipment. And he opened her up and he put his fist in her pelvis to right against the vessel,
Mm-hmm.
got them on a chopper with his sitting on her with his hand in her pelvis, rolled off the chopper, rolled through the emergency department. And I saw that and I thought, oh, this is what I want to do. So,
Oh my gosh.
so that's how I ended up being a surgeon.
Oh wow. That story right there. Very graphic
Yeah.
and vivid, but like you
Yeah.
said, the impact of saving a life. I can't even imagine all the different stories you have. The closest I know is just watching TV shows, so
Right.
it's pretty crazy. So tell us more about the beginnings of starting your business and in a completely, obviously still around health, but
Right.
completely different focus.
So I had a dog. Unfortunately, she's not with us anymore, but maybe God, how long ago was it now? 7, 8 years ago. She suffered dermatitis,
Hmm.
and we were back and forth to the vet every week, every month, just about. And spending a lot of money, as you do when you have a dog, but actually spending a lot of money. And one night I had this sort of realization that she was behaving like a child with eczema or a person with eczema or dermatitis. And we often have those people coming into hospital and, with skin infections, with abscesses.
Yeah.
And she was behaving exactly like this. And then I said to the vet, listen, is there nothing, because we know humans with eczema, we moisturize them like crazy. They have to be moisturized. And actually, even when you don't have eczema as a human,
Right.
we cleanse and we moisturize. And actually, dog dermatitis is one of the most common reasons to visit the vet, and it affects 30% of all dogs. So it's very, very common. But at that moment in time, there was no recommendation for dog cleansing and moisturizing. And even now, people think it's totally ridiculous, but actually, it makes sense. They're close to the ground, they're picking up allergens all the time. All those things you read about a healthy skin barrier in humans and a vulnerable skin barrier, actually, it's exactly the same for dogs. And just like humans, the way we can improve dog skin barriers is by moisturizing.
Yeah.
So, this is actually, we are a dermocosmetic line for dogs. We manufacture products that moisturize and soothe and nourish skin to improve the skin barrier, reduce infection, reduce breakdown, and voila, that's it.
That's wonderful. How has that
Right.
journey been in terms of coming up with product? And I always, when I'm talking to product-based businesses, I'm like, hats off to you. I can't even imagine manufacturing and all of that stuff.
I mean, it's totally different. And I have this memory of being in the operating theater some years ago now, and I got a call. I had an operating list for breast cancer, and I had a call. I had a call from the manufacturer, and he goes, Hey, I picked up the phone. He said, "We have a serious problem."
Oh, geez.
I said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Okay, well, what's the problem?" We're short 200 jars. I was like, you have no idea what a serious problem
Yeah,
is.
right.
I'm operating on a list of breast cancers. Okay, fine. If we're short, there's nothing I can do about it right now. There's nothing you can do about it right now. So okay, fine. It is what it is. The journey has been I mean, it's totally different. Um, and what I realized is in medicine, and of course, rightly so, we're very framed. We work in a square, and of course we do, because the moment you move out of that square, people lose their lives.
Yep.
And in business, actually, you're just trying to keep your head above water, juggle multiple, especially small business.
Yeah.
And multiple things, as you say, product development, or simple things like jars not getting to where they're supposed to be, courier problems, package delays, etc. So all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different journey, but it's exciting in different
Yeah,
ways.
it has its challenges and also the lessons. But wow, what a perspective to create for us here when you're talking about, we operate inside the square, and if you get out of the square, somebody could die. And then we're talking about as an entrepreneur, you face rejection and you face all these things, but it's like at the end of the day, friend, it's not that serious.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And that's kind of a good thing that I've taken, but also a bad thing because of course, there's this huge drive to be very successful very quickly in entrepreneurship
Mhm.
and building a business. And I totally understand that. And of course, I'm driven to the end game here. But at the same time, I can take a step back and say, my God, there are worse things in life,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
I know that the shit has hit the fan today, and we have packages breaking, not getting places, angry customers, but you have your health.
Yes, 100%. Wow, I love that. That's an
Uh,
amazing message from this episode to any entrepreneur out there. It's like at the end of the day, if you have your health, that is really
yeah.
all that matters. So tell
Oh
us
my
the
God,
name
yeah.
of the product line and how can we find it? Is it on Amazon, your website? Tell us more.
So the company is called Fur Love.
Hmm.
Yes, very cute. And we started in New Zealand. Now we're in France and the UK and
Wow,
vets and retailers.
awesome.
And you can order us online, www.thefurlove.com, and into the US and Canada as well.
Okay, very nice. I'll make sure and put those links or that link in the show notes so that people can go check it out. And thank you for putting that out there for our
Thank
beloved
you.
animals. And is it just for
Right.
dogs or is it for other
At
animals?
this moment,
Okay.
yes, just for dogs.
So for all our pups out there that need help. I actually used to have a Doberman that had lots of skin issues. She had to have steroid shots, all kinds of stuff.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I definitely
Yeah.
understand the issue with that. So thank
Yeah.
you for putting that out there.
Very common in Doberman, yes.
Hmm. Now tell us more about the book then, because you said very fortunate to have published with a publisher. How was that journey and, the beginnings? I always love hearing from authors because I know it's an
Yeah.
interesting switch from I want to and then you do it. Hey, let me ask you a question. Would you like to be my next guest on the Empowered Woman podcast? Do you have a story you'd like to share? Want more visibility for your business on a show ranked in the top 0.5% in the world? Well, then head on over to martasburg.com/podcast guest for more information.
Right. And it's a long journey, but actually, I never started out writing a book.
Hmm.
In medicine, we have to write a lot about patient histories. So somebody comes in through the door, how old are you? What do you do in your life, et cetera, et cetera. All those things that, make somebody a person. And sometimes we miss that actually. We forget that people are people.
Right.
And especially when people are really unwell. And when I was, what I really struggled with, and one day I had a gentleman in his 60s who came in through the emergency department, and he was bleeding, catastrophically bleeding, internal bleeding. We didn't know why, we didn't know where. And so we took him to theater urgently. I opened him up, found where he was bleeding, but it was catastrophic before we managed to get in,
Hmm.
and he didn't make it. He died, and I really found it very strange that your call. It was 6 a.m. I remember it clearly. I had to rush to the hospital. That you land at 6 a.m. in the operating theater, you open somebody up, your hands and your elbows are deep in somebody's abdomen, and then he doesn't make it. And actually, this was the turning point. I had to go out into the waiting room to say, listen, it hasn't gone well. And I saw in the waiting room my cousin,
Hmm.
and actually it was my cousin's uncle.
Oh, no.
And and then I did a double take and I looked at the patient's name, and I realized that, of course, they had the same last name. And I realized at that moment that actually we don't even look at the name, we don't even know who he is. And so strange. Somebody is on your operating table, you've got your hands inside, you've got your elbows inside, and then it's done, and you just kind of don't even know who this person is. Actually, he was normal yesterday. He was having dinner with his family. He's somebody who is loved and
Mhm.
support and is part of this family community. And that happens a lot in surgery, like the young woman I was describing before. And of course, people are sick when they come to us, so we don't really have an idea of who they were before. And I found it difficult to sort of reconcile that and then go home and, have a shower and go to sleep.
Right. Right.
Like, that's so bizarre.
Oh.
So I started to write, about the stories and who they were, and they're part of a network, and it's sad that it's just gone like that. So I started to write really as a catharsis. My mother as well, she was unwell, and she had cancer, going through chemotherapy, living with me. So there were multiple things, and
Mhm.
my way to express and decompress actually is through writing. So I wrote and I wrote and I wrote, and then finally I had 50,000 words. And one day I thought, okay, I'm going to get an agent and see what they think with somebody like this.
Mhm.
And the agent gave it to a few publishers, and straight away I had a few offers, and one of them was HarperCollins, and I could not say
Wow.
no to HarperCollins. So that was it. But then after that, I went through a whole 2 years of editing, and they wanted more, and you go through one editor, the commissioning editor, then another editor, then another editor, and the process is very, very long.
Hmm. Yeah. Lots of different steps to it, but
Yeah.
wow, that's amazing to get started as something personal for you to process uh, the challenge of this profession, and then to turn that into a book and make it public so
Yeah.
you can impact more people. So what can people expect from the book? Tell us the name, how can we find it, and what's in it? What is it called?
So the book is called On Call. And actually, when I gave it over to the publishers, I thought the title would be From Masturbation to Death.
What?
Because the book is everything we see as a general surgeon, and
Oh
we
my
see
gosh.
crazy things, right?
Oh, I can't
You
imagine.
see, vibrators or fruits and vegetables and rectums to horror. And so the day is, tumultuous. It's up and down. It's madness, and I love it, and I loved it actually. But of course, it's this emotional roller coaster
Mm,
for you as a person living multiple stories in a day.
yeah.
So that was the initial title, and then my editor said to me, "Listen, Ineke, I know you think it's funny, and I know you think it's a good idea, but I don't think it's going to get the audience that you want."
Mhm.
And then one night I was talking to a friend, a male friend, Argentinian, and I said to him, "This is the name of the book, From Masturbation to Death." And he said, "Oh, I would buy that book in an instant." And I said, "Okay, yeah, this guy, you're the wrong audience. It can't be the name of the book."
That's funny.
So it's called On Call,
Mhm.
and it sort of recounts the stories of patients that we see in a day, the weird, the wonderful, the horror, the sadness, and the good stories too, because most of the stories are good, but actually, of course, we're left with the sad and the bad.
Yeah.
That those are the stories that sit with us. I talk about in the book my own complications, because as a human, we have complications as surgeons, even though we train,
Yeah.
for tens of years and operate thousands of patients. Actually, it's just human nature. You have complications.
Mm.
So I write about that, and at the end, at the beginning of this whole process, the editor at HarperCollins said to me, because I had only written patient stories, she said, "Listen, the patient stories are amazing, and I cried in them. But I got to the end of the book, and I said to myself, who is this woman that
Mhm.
goes through all the shit, actually?
Mhm.
So we need your story in it too." So my story is written in parallel.
Okay. Ooh, I love that.
So you will cry and you will laugh, but you
Okay,
will cry
that's
and you will
it.
laugh.
That's what we want. That's what we want. Turn it into a series, turn it into a movie. That's so awesome. Okay, so On Call, and people can find it on Amazon. and start.
Yes, Amazon, USA and Canada. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm excited to go check it out. Now back to this whole journey. Oh my gosh, the whole like being a surgeon and then talking about entrepreneurship. I feel like that's created such an amazing parallel and reflection on the different challenges of life in general, but also when we're talking about entrepreneurship. I'd love for you to share, any piece of advice that you have for women that are out there struggling with their business, but now they have this perspective from a surgeon, a general surgeon. Um, Advice, encouragement, anything, give us.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose the biggest thing, and I've learned in my journey through medicine and now,
Mhm.
even, having transitioned into business, is that you cannot do it alone. And as women, and especially high achieving women, we tend to think, oh, I don't think that we think, but we expect ourselves to do it all.
Mhm.
And actually, okay, we can, but there's a price to pay, and it's going to be bloody hard, and actually, it's going to be pretty sad.
Yeah.
And you need people, you need family. We are still the child bearers of the we're child bearers.
Mhm.
We are still the people who spend most of the time raising the family, and unfortunately, that's the way it is. And we need people. You need a supportive partner, you need family, you need friends.
Mhm.
And that's the biggest thing I've come away with, because actually I had to learn that the hard way, because I fell pregnant in medical school, and then I needed my family back. But that's another story for another day. But yeah, you can't do it alone, because you need people who champion you, and you know you need to be able to sort of check your compass with other people. I have this I realize in myself I can be incredibly sensitive to criticism or to passing remarks about being a woman. And either I can fight and be incredibly reactive about all that, but actually I take a step back, and I ask a friend, listen, this happened to me today. Do you think that I'm valid in feeling really effing angry, or do you think that I have totally misinterpreted the situation? So that's you need people for
Mhm.
many reasons. And number two, probably that's a good segue into this, is that you have to choose your fights,
Mhm.
because you can fight if you choose to fight, but actually a lot of the time it's not worth it.
Mhm.
You have to remember that people need the bandwidth to change. So actually, is what you're trying to fight for and what you're trying to fight against
Mhm.
something that you're going to be able to change, or is it just going to create a lot of stress for you?
Yeah.
Things that happen in passing in the day, remarks that people make, you know, okay, in medicine and surgery, there's a lot of sexism. There's a lot of, and I suppose in any industry. And if I tried to fight that all day, every day, then I'd be even more exhausted than I am.
Yeah.
So I think choose your fights, have your GPS, have your compass, take a step back, and then come back to it.
Mhm.
Sleep on it. Don't always react in anger. And my third piece of advice is never hesitate to ask for help, actually. Help is out there. I have no idea about running a business, but I know in medicine we need specialists for other organs.
Mhm.
Actually, I'm a general surgeon. I don't know anything about the heart, but I will go to a cardiologist if I need advice.
Mhm.
Same anywhere, actually.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's going to save you time. And
Mhm.
there are other people who have that skill set. You don't need to have them be the master of everything.
Yeah. That is so good. And it applies to all things
Yeah,
in
totally.
life. So good. I love all of them. Now you did say you're doing consulting now. You have the business, you have the book. Are you still practicing medicine? How are you spending your time these days?
So, yes, I'm still operating,
Okay.
and I do some strategic advisory work for currently the breast screening program, so
Okay.
mammograms, etc., for women aging into breast screen. I research. I can't sit still.
I get it. Gotta be doing something.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have the luxury of having different worlds. Now, I live in Paris now,
Ooh,
and so I have the luxury of the northern hemisphere, and now it's spring and beautiful days, and then flying back to southern hemisphere when I need to.
I love it.
And yeah, we have one life. We've got to take it.
That's so true. Yeah, and I mean, especially for you, you understand that at a very deep
Yes.
level.
Yeah. No,
With
100%. Yeah.
having
Every
experienced
day.
death, it creates that perspective for sure of, man, anything could happen. So let's go on and follow
Yeah,
those dreams
totally.
and
Yeah,
make things happen.
exactly. Yes, exactly. You have one life to live, and if we're lucky to have a roof over our heads and health, then
Mhm.
then we must take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's all that matters. Well, before I have you share with us how people can connect with you, I love asking all my questions or all my guests my $1,000,000 question.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Okay.
So, because the name of the show is The Empowered Woman, I like asking, what is an empowered woman to you?
To me, an empowered woman is a woman that has the freedom to make her own decisions.
Mm,
And of course, in the world that we live in today, there are a lot of women who don't have that opportunity.
right.
Well, of course, it existed always since the history of time.
Yeah.
Women who don't have the freedom to make their own choice. But now, we're in the workforce. We have, and of course, freedom over our bodies. This doesn't always happen. Of course, this is very debatable in the USA right now.
Yeah.
But when we can wake up in the morning, okay, simply for me, I can wake up in the morning, I can go down to the boulangère, I can have a croissant and a
Mhm.
coffee under the sun. And for me, that's all I want. I just want, the freedom to be able to do that and the health to do that
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day. And I think it has to be simple.
Yeah, simple. I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us. How can people connect with you besides taking a look at the company that you've started and grabbing your book on Amazon? Is there a specific place you hang out the most? Tell us more.
Probably Instagram, or actually my email, Ineke Meredith at gmail.com. You can put it in there, you can link it.
Awesome.
I have had a whole lot of messages just about the book and the journey, and actually it's been pretty overwhelming, and I'm very privileged to have had that kind of feedback.
Very nice. Well, congratulations on all the impact that you're creating out there, and thank you so much for your work and your time and sharing with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode empowered you. And if you enjoyed the show, please join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook and share with friends or leave a review on iTunes so more people can discover this empowering message. Until next time, bye.